Everybody, fight me on this. The pay has gotten much better. When I first started, the average... Hey guys, it's Matt, and these are everything I could think of that has changed with the trucking industry since I started in around 2011 or so, 2010 I think it was. When I was 21, now obviously I'm 34 or something like that. I don't remember. But so I've been trucking about 13 years or so. And I wanted to discuss everything about that. And I didn't even want to do a title page, just want to get into it so that you guys I'm not wasting your time. So number one is e-log mandates. Now when I first started, I was on e-logs, but then there was a good 7-8 years or so where I was just on loose leaf paper logs. Now that first year when I was on e-logs was really rough, and then when I went back to loose leaf paper, it was no issues. I've never had a problem at scale either because I was very organized with them. But when I went back to e-logs, about, 5-6 years ago, something like that, 7 years ago. When I went back to e-logs, it was really rough until they come up with a 2-hour sleeper exemption. So that, I honestly believe that I am rarely affected by e-logs anymore. It might be once a week or once every 2 weeks that I have trouble. The other thing is Love's truck stops. Holy cow, is there a lot of Love's truck stops now. I think that they have tripled the numbers at least since I've started. And I can't remember last Pilot, Flying J or any other truck stop I've ever seen. I foresee in the future that Love's is probably going to be one of the only truck stops left, really. And speaking of truck stops, it's driver's lounges. There used to be, especially in Flying J, there used to be driver's lounges in almost every Flying J, a TV room, something like that, movie theater, and we'd all just hang out and eat our food and everything and talk, and I guess that was expensive real estate there because they got rid of all of them, and that really ruined the camaraderie of trucking. And that's the other big thing is the camaraderie. Everybody just goes back to their trucks and just hangs out in their truck. There's no talking, there's no, even when we're just walking by each other, there's no conversation rarely going on. So that could be for good and it could be for bad, because what I've also noticed is the other thing that's missing in these truck stops is restaurants. When I first started, Flying J had an amazing buffet. It was full of relatively healthy food and some unhealthy food, but you could, if you needed a certain dietary needs, I think that the Flying J buffet covered everything, whether you wanted to eat like crap or if you wanted to eat healthy. But now you're just stuck with Subway or McDonald's or Wendy's or whatever, which, it is what it is, but it's getting harder and harder to find like a home-cooked meal compared to when I first started. Now let's change the subject a little bit. Emissions, oh my god, DPF, DEF. Now when I first started, so there was a lot of the trucks I had, some of them had the DPF, most of them did, but it wasn't super common because people didn't want to adopt that. And then when the non-emissions trucks got miles on them, these companies just had to go with the times. And DEF was probably a much bigger issue change than the diesel particulate filter. Having to fill that up, and as we're finding out right now in the wintertime, it's a total disaster when it's below 20 and it freezes. And what do? You just gotta get those big ass boxes. But another thing, let's keep it moving, man, is podcasts. Now a lot of people don't have a lot of people to talk to going down the road, so there's podcasts to listen to, and that's a real big game changer. The other thing is, when I first started, it was close to the recession. We had still had horrible unemployment. and it was starting to get back. But everybody basically that got into trucking, besides me, it seemed like, people was my age that didn't have any direction in life, and the rest were middle-aged guys that got laid off of their job, and that was their only thing. But now we got people that actually want to be in trucking. I feel like it is the best job suited for them. It might not be their dream job, but it's the best one that they can do, and they're just not forced into it because of lack of other just can't get a job, period. They might not have great options, but that nowadays they have some where the unemployment's a lot higher than it was. Another thing is, I'm noticing more and more foreigners driving trucks. I think that's great and bad at the same time. You can form your own opinion about it, and I think a lot of them are real good with their job. And then I just asked a guy parked right next to me. He was changing his oil, if he needed any tools or anything, and he said, "I don't speak English." I don't think if you can't speak English, if you get in an accident, what are you supposed to do? You can't read the signs. What are you supposed to do? So it is what it is. Now the other thing too is faster trucks. Now people are going to fight me for this, but coming out of the recession, everybody all these big companies cut their trucks down to 62. Now the owner operators would go pretty fast, but now we've kind of met in the middle, all around 65, 70 or so. And it used to be every truck was at 62 and 65, so everybody took forever to pass. We still have that, but I feel like it's improved, really. And going back to e-logs, due to scheduling constraints, because of e-logs, I think that companies have adapted, and there are more drop-in hooks, and it's a lot more convenient. It's a lot less sitting around at shippers. I don't know if the shippers like it because they have to jockey the trailers around, but it is what it is, and I've found it a really, really big help in the industry. Next thing is big TVs. I've seen people with TVs this damn big in the back of their truck. They'll spin their driver's seat around. They'll watch the TV in the back. It's huge TVs. When I first started, if you had a TV, it was unheard of. Now, just huge TVs. It's insane. Let's see. You put your pen in for a shower instead of the keys. Keys used to get lost all the time. I think that's a little bit more convenient. Now, everybody fight me on this. The pay has gotten much better. When I first started, the average trucker's salary was around $50,000. Now it's around $80,000 to $90,000, and I don't know anybody who's making 70. Period. In the story. Local, I don't know anybody making less than 80,000. To be honest with you, and so when you put it, you can argue if inflation's really what they say it is, but if you base it on inflation, it is actually doing slightly better than inflation, which is a lot better than other wages. And I think the pay is great. You can get in a truck, and an experienced driver can make six figures, and that was unheard of back in the day, even accounting for inflation. Fight me. Another thing too is contentious subject here. I haven't seen a lot lizard in well over 10 years in trucking, and they have really cleaned up the truck stops, and that is a great thing. And the other thing too is, gosh, there's so much more truck stops. Another thing you can find me on. You guys are probably gonna find me on every single one of these. I don't care, but I do not have a problem hardly parking anymore. When I first started, truck parking was a pain. Maybe it's because I used to, deliver to big cities, and now I'm out here more in the country, and I'm spending the night at the customer more frequently. But I'm seeing more and more parking. Unfortunately, there's a lot of paid for parking. It's a scam. It's a mess. but there are a lot more places to choose from to park at. And there's a lot of places kicking us out, understandably so. A lot of us, aren't super careful about where we park and aren't respectful. But anyway, that's everything that I could think of that has changed in trucking since I started in the past 14 or so years.